What was it, Tom, that got you on the journey with YouTube? Because, you know, I find a lot of people in business, they're very aware of Facebook and using those types of platforms, but the YouTube, as consumers, I use it an awful lot, you know, all the time. But as far as business owners using it in the way of thinking of advertising, what was it that got you onto the journey of the YouTube journey?
Yeah, of course. So I suppose I've always had a keen eye to where the opportunity is, and kind of focused in on working out kind of where the next steps would be. So if I kind of take you back to probably university, just before I went to university, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I always worked hard at school, and there was certain subject matter that I was like really interested in. So kind of I thrived in that space. And then I went on to university and studied psychology purely because I didn't know what to do, really, more than anything else. But I knew that I wanted to go to university. I wanted to get a degree because at the time it was much more important, I suppose, or at least it was drummed into me that it was very important to get a degree at that time. I think my mindset would change a little bit now with the rising costs and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, went to university, did psychology, fell in love with the subject, and just wanted to do more and more of it. So after my degree, I then went to do a master's in the subject as well, and focused a lot in the sport world as well as the business world. And I was always kind of like acquiring all these skills and understanding kind of how human behavior kind of works at a kind of very fundamental level. And I started to kind of looking at how I could use those skills. And I tried to work in the sports world, but at the time, no one was really interested in psychology and sport. Only like the top pros would be interested in ever kind of considering it. Otherwise you just, they didn't kind of warm to it. Felt like they were working with a shrink, so to speak, as opposed to actually working with performance enhancement kind of techniques and things. And so I quickly, because I was living in London, and I kind of was coming to the end of my master's. I'd finish off my thesis. And at that point I was like, look, I should work out how to make some money out of this if I'm ever going to do it, because all my friends were starting to kind of go into the business world and become bankers or work in insurance and that type of thing, and starting to get their foot in the on the ladder, so to speak, in terms of their career. And I was still like, okay, well, what am I going to do here? How am I going to use this? And I started trying to kind of work one-to-one with clients. And I did okay. I was kind of advertised in Yellow Pages. That was a terrible idea. That never worked very well for me at all. But my dad and my brother, who's older than me, had both started their businesses when they were very young. And so for me, I felt like, well, I've got a pot of debt over here from university, and it can't get much worse than this. And so I decided to kind of start my own business, and they kind of helped me out a little bit in terms of how to form a company and that type of thing. And then I was struggling to get clients, like any psychologist does. And I was kind of looking at kind of different ways of doing this. And then I had a leaflet come through the door from Google AdWords. I didn't know what it was at the time, and kind of it came through the door, and it gave me £30 worth of credit to use. I was like, okay, I don't know what that is, but let's have a look. The Yellow Pages thing hadn't worked for me. And so I remember kind of taking it up to my bedroom, which I was like working from my bedroom in London. And I kind of went onto Google AdWords, learned a little bit more about what it was all about. And I thought, well, this seems pretty straightforward. Someone goes to Google, types in something, and then I can show my ad there if I want to. And I can make sure that kind of I say, here's what I do. And at the time I'd kind of niched down into public speaking. So helping people with anxiety and fears of public speaking. I was like, right, I think I can nail that one. I'm definitely not going to be a life coach at the age of 24 or 25 or whatever it was. I was more a case of like saying, right, well, how do I help people? And that was a very specific thing I could definitely help with. And so I plugged in all this stuff on Google, said, right, how do I just put if you need help with public speaking and you're fearful, call this number. Basically, it was as simple as that. My website was terrible, but it was in the good old days, really.